Now, it has been a very dramatic diplomatic afternoon following an airstrike that took place in Gaza yesterday. 7 aid workers killed, 3 of them, we understand, British. And quite a strong diplomatic response this afternoon from our Foreign Office. GB News' Home Affairs and Security Editor Mark White joins me down the line to give us a briefing.
Well, I think what the Israeli government has said is that, it's deeply apologetic for what has happened. They've described this as an unintended missile strike. They're deeply remorseful and clearly in a very difficult position because they have a very good relationship with this particular charity, the World Central Kitchen, who've been working in Gaza for a number of months now, doing vital work there on the humanitarian front. This incident happened last night when a convoy of vehicles from the WCK was leaving and heading down the coastal highway when it was struck by missiles. 7 aid workers killed. We thought initially that there was one British national caught up in this, but as the day progressed, today we got the confirmation that 3 British nationals have been killed in this incident, including, it's being widely reported now, James Henderson, a former Royal Marine, someone who had only been working for the charity out there in Gaza a number of weeks, someone described as compassionate, very professional, who would have been alive to all of the threats out there and who would, I have no doubt, been liaising with the Israeli military. The charity says they were doing every day to try to ensure that they were in these deconflicted areas and to try to reduce the possibility of a terrible incident like this unfolding. And one of the main reasons I think this will be particularly difficult and awkward for the Israeli government is because of the relationship with this and other charities who the Israelis have been encouraging to come in to help with the aid effort in Gaza, because the relationship with the UN agency has completely broken down. Israel has accused UNRWA of employing some 2,000 members of Hamas for this organisation, also for employing people who were directly involved in those atrocities on the 7th of October. Israel would like to see the back of UNRWA in Gaza, but in the meantime, they've been encouraging other groups like the WCK to come in there and do what they can to help the people of Gaza. So now it's involved, understandably, in urgent talks with these charities to try to come up with a more foolproof way of ensuring that there can be no repetition of the horrific events of last night.
Mark White, thank you very much indeed for that. And I'm joined down the line from Israel by Avi Hyman, who's acting as a spokesman for the Israeli government. Avi, thank you for joining me this evening. So your ambassador in London, Zippy Hotovely, has been called in to meet Foreign Office Minister Andrew Mitchell today. What I don't quite understand is how a vehicle that was so clearly marked was targeted, or was this just a horrible accident?
Nigel, thank you so much for having me on, and thank you for highlighting the story. It would appear, a terrible, terrible accident. This was an incredible organization. Aid workers like these in conflicts like this are often the unsung heroes. They were going to give food and aid to people that genuinely need it at a time when we're fighting to get aid into Gaza and not having it stolen by Hamas, who are taking it into their underground compounds and hogging the food and aid. So our heart goes out to the families of the victims, and we're going to thoroughly investigate it. It's going to be a transparent investigation, a professional investigation, and ultimately we hope that we'll find out that it actually wasn't us, and maybe there was some other explanation, because it's such a terrible situation. But ultimately we will get to the bottom of this and ensure that it doesn't happen again. You have a situation in Gaza where,
No, okay. And, for your ambassador to be called in to the Foreign Office does reflect, I think you'll agree, a quite significant shift in position in terms of British foreign policy and indeed American foreign policy since October the 7th. And I completely understand your position that if Hamas is allowed to be unscathed after October the 7th, there was nothing to stop them simply doing it again, and perhaps even on a bigger scale. But the sheer number of civilian casualties are beginning to leave Israel very, very isolated.
Nigel, I'm not going to wade into British politics. You've made your name on that. I'll leave that to you. What I can say is that Israel is up against a brutal, brutal enemy that has said that given the chance, they will do October 7th again and again and again. We can't allow that to happen. So we need to plow on with our mission to destroy Hamas, to bring home the 134 hostages, and to ensure that Gaza doesn't become a threat to us again. Now, we believe that our allies, be it Great Britain, be it the United States, will stand shoulder to shoulder, not just because of what I've explained, but because it's an issue of values. It's an issue of the same enemy. The people that perpetrated October 7th are the same ideology that perpetrated the 7th of the 7th. We first saw Hamas became famous on the world stage by blowing up, doing suicide bombings on buses, blowing up buses. We all remember the scenes of the blown up double-decker in London. To quote the former chief rabbi of England, Rabbi Lord Jonathan Sacks, what starts with the Jews rarely ends with the Jews. So we're in the same battlefield. This is your war, and we need to win this war because our enemies all around are watching.
Yes, but the point I'm making, and final point, but most important point, is people are seeing, and numbers are disputed, obviously, they always are in these situations, but people are seeing a very large civilian death toll. And that's the worry. And that is what is turning people, if not against Israel, certainly to a more neutral position.
So allow me to push back on that, because yes, that's definitely a narrative that's being pushed, and it's a Hamas narrative, because the more people think that civilian casualties are skyrocketing, the more chance Hamas has to stop the war because of international pressure and to stay in power. So that's Hamas's strategy, to increase civilian casualties on both sides. Now, what the IDF is doing, and this has been said by leading military experts in British experts, leading American experts, is the IDF is operating in a way to absolutely minimize civilian casualty in a way that no other army has done in the history of modern warfare. I believe in generations to come, they'll be learning about the battles that we're currently fighting in Sandhurst and in West Point, in military schools, as the gold standard for urban warfare. I don't think there's ever been a scenario where a terrorist organization has set themselves up deep within a civilian population, under a civilian population, created a network of terror tunnels twice the size of the London Underground to attack us. This is unprecedented, and we're doing our very best, and we're winning, and we will have total victory.
Well, thank you for making those points, because they're not being heard enough on British media.